Welcome to Spurs Focus, your go-to spot for daily Tottenham news, transfers, and match updates. Don't forget to support the channel by hitting that subscribe button now. Let's dive into today's top story. An emotional chapter closes at Tottenham Hotspur. After 10 unforgettable years, son Heung-min has confirmed his departure from Spurs, heading to Major League Soccer in a £15 million move to LAFC. The South Korean icon, who netted 173 goals in 454 games and lifted the Europa League trophy in his final season, now embarks on a new adventure in the United States. We'll also cover Will Lanxhere's loan exit, the latest on Maddison's injury, and Spurs' trip to Bayern Munich. All that and more, this is Spurs Focus. Son Heung-min is on his way to Los Angeles before completing a £15 million switch to Major League Soccer, after deciding to end his decade-long stay at Tottenham Hotspur. The South Korea star, 33, last week confirmed that he would be leaving North London to pursue a new opportunity, having scored 173 goals in 454 games, while finally landing silverware by winning the Europa League in his final competitive game for the club. Son was given a fitting farewell by appearing for Spurs in a friendly against Newcastle in front of his home fans in Seoul, and fighting back the tears, he said after the game, "This is the time to say goodbye to everyone. Spurs will always be in my heart. I will cheer them on as a family member." He is expected to sign a 2-year deal with Los Angeles FC and will link up with another former Spurs star in goalkeeper Hugo Lloris. Son's departure follows confirmation that Will Lanxhere has been sent on loan to Oxford United for the season. The young striker featured in half a dozen games early last season, starting league phase fixtures in their European run, and then went to West Brom on loan. "This is a really exciting opportunity for me to be joining a great club," said Lanxhere. "I learned so much last season in the first team at Tottenham and West Brom, and I'm ready to now kick on with Oxford United. I feel like this is the right place for me to be. I love nothing more than scoring goals. I want to do my best to bring as many as I can this season." New Spurs boss Thomas Frank is bringing his squad to Bavaria for a friendly against Bayern Munich on Thursday evening, and will hope to integrate Joao Palhinha, who has been signed on loan from the Bundesliga champions, ahead of next week's UEFA Super Cup versus Paris Saint-Germain. But Frank is waiting for an update on the condition of James Maddison, who was stretchered off after hurting a knee in the 1-1 draw with Newcastle. "I think sometimes in life and in football, things can be both beautiful and brutal. That's what we got today," the head coach said in Seoul. "It looks like with Madders, a bad injury, and then on the other side, unbelievable scenes for Son, from his teammates and the respect from the Newcastle players. Double heartbreak for Spurs fans in Seoul. James Maddison has suffered what looks like a serious knee injury again, and was stretchered off in clear agony." To make matters worse, club captain Son Heung-min confirmed his decision to leave Tottenham in an emotional farewell that left fans and teammates in tears. Thomas Frank described the moment as both brutal and beautiful. What does this mean for Spurs just weeks before the new season kicks off? We break it all down. This is Spurs Focus. Thomas Frank has revealed that James Maddison looks to have suffered a bad knee injury once again after he was stretchered off in Seoul. The Spurs midfielder was injured late on in South Korea and was later seen leaving the stadium on crutches. Medical staff had rushed on to treat the former Leicester man, who was clearly in agony. Maddison was then stretchered off, with Frank revealing that he has aggravated the knee injury that saw his season end prematurely last term. Speaking after his side's 1-1 draw with Newcastle, he said, "We're pretty sure it was the same knee he injured before." Maddison's injury was not the only headline from Spurs' most recent pre-season outing. The game also likely represented Son Heung-min's final match with the North London side. He confirmed his desire to leave the club this summer in an emotional press conference before Sunday's game. On that announcement, and Maddison's injury, Frank added, "Yeah, it's like in life and football. I think sometimes life and football can be brutal, but also sometimes very beautiful." So I think it was brutal in what happened to Madders. It looks like a bad injury. Of course, we don't know exactly the status on it. It didn't look good. And then on the other side, unbelievable. Beautiful scenes with Sonny and his teammates, the big respect from Newcastle, Can't praise that highly enough from the players on the pitch. The scenes after, first when we walk around the pitch, and then when his teammates gathered around him, and you could see he's highly emotional. Then in the changing room as well, I just said a few things, very shortly, because it's about Sonny, and then he said a few things, of course very emotional. So very, very beautiful scenes about Sonny. Spurs will certainly be hoping that Maddison's injury isn't as bad as first feared. If so, it could force them back into the transfer market for recruits. The North London side previously activated a release clause written into Morgan Gibbs-White's Nottingham Forest contract, but he eventually opted to sign a new contract at the City ground. Frank's side are in action once again next weekend as they take on Bundesliga giants Bayern Munich in their final pre-season game. They then take on reigning European champions Paris Saint-Germain in the UEFA Super Cup. Spurs get their new campaign against newly promoted Burnley on home soil in just under a fortnight's time. Tottenham head coach Thomas Frank has been speaking about the 1-1 draw with Newcastle in South Korea that brought plenty of emotions. The match in Seoul is expected to be Son Heung-min's final match for the club after 10 years and countless memories, not least lifting the Europa League trophy in May to end it all on a high. Against Newcastle, Brennan Johnson opened the scoring with a low finish before Harvey Barnes equalised with a powerful shot just before half-time. The second half was all about two moments described by Frank to Football. London as beautiful and brutal. First, a tearful Son got his moment to come off after the hour mark, and the game stopped as he was hugged by everyone on it. With a guard of honour before the substitutes, and staff surrounded him and hugged the emotional captain. Then came the brutal moment as James Maddison went down in the final stages with a non-contact injury to his right knee, which looked serious. Our Tottenham correspondent, Alistair Gold, was among those putting the questions to Frank on those two players after the game. Scroll down for every word the Spurs boss said at the press conference inside the Seoul World Cup Stadium. I thought it was a good game between two competitive teams. We scored a great goal from high pressure, where we were winning it high. It was a big part of what we like to do. I also think we won it high, maybe 4, 5 or 6 times, where we could have created more of those situations, and then we dropped a little bit back. Then in the second half we got back to more of that. Fair result in an even game. Yeah, it's like in life and football, I think sometimes life and football can be brutal, but also sometimes very beautiful. So I think it was brutal in what happened to Madders. It looks like a bad injury. Of course we don't know exactly the status on it. It didn't look good. And then on the other side, unbelievable, beautiful scenes with Sonny and his teammates. The big respect from Newcastle. Can't praise that highly enough from the players on the pitch. The scenes after, first when we walk around the pitch, and then when his teammates gathered around him, and you could see he's highly emotional. Then in the changing room as well, I just said a few things very shortly because it's about Sonny, and then he said a few things, of course, very emotional. So very, very beautiful scenes about Sonny. Not too much, if I'm honest. He knew he had to play. He would play this game no matter what. If this was potentially his last game or not, he would captain the team. So I think the only thing was, I spoke a little bit about him. With him, I like to make sure we honoured him in the right way. Of course, also had a little bit of a professional view on it. So we need to have other players on the pitch as well. So bits like that, but that was the only bit. I think of any of our young players, I think Archie Gray stood out. I think he was really, really impressive. I like the way he was carrying the ball forward, his roll down the side, and the half-space runs. And I also think his aggression in the duels and the pressure was very good. I think that was a very promising performance, and it was lovely to have the opportunity to put Yang on the pitch, clearly in front of the home crowd, and he almost got the goal, which would have been fantastic for him and for the team. It's the end of an era at Tottenham Hotspur, and possibly the start of a new one. Son Heung-min has officially announced his departure from Spurs after 10 legendary years, and now Thomas Frank is wasting no time lining up a replacement. Paris Saint-Germain's Randal Kolo Muani is top of the shortlist, with Spurs ready to battle Juventus for the Frenchman's signature. Can he finally make his long-awaited Premier League move and fill Son's massive boots? Let's break it all down right here on Spurs Focus. Tottenham Hotspur are eyeing up a player who almost moved to Liverpool, as they now look to replace son Heung-min. The legendary Spurs forward dropped the bombshell announcement on Saturday that he had made the decision to leave North London. The South Korean forward relayed his intentions on Spurs' pre-season tour of his home country, and he will leave a huge hole in Spurs boss Thomas Frank's final third. The Danish boss, while disappointed at the announcement, will now have to quickly turn his attention to bolstering his front line, with Paris Saint-Germain's Randal Kolo Muani reportedly at the top of his list. The France international was of interest to Spurs in January, but spent the second half of last season on loan at Juventus, where he scored 10 goals in 22 appearances. He has also courted many suitors in the past, famously Liverpool and Manchester United, while Chelsea have also been linked with the star. Back in January 2023, Sky Germany claimed that Kolo Muani decided against joining Jurgen Klopp at Anfield in what would have been a rumoured $88 million deal. The striker rebuffed the Reds in favour of staying at Eintracht Frankfurt. Kolo Muani claimed he felt at ease at the Bundesliga side. However, after scoring 26 goals in just 50 games for Frankfurt, Muani was snapped up by PSG for 76,2 in September of that year. The 26-year-old could have also made his way to the Premier League via Old Trafford. A report from The Athletic stated that Kolo Muani and Rasmus Højlund were United's top two forward targets in 2023, but the latter's age, profile and slightly cheaper price gave him the edge. After leaving both Premier League giants red-faced, Kolo Muani had a solid debut season for PSG, starting 40 times and scoring 9 goals. Yet he struggled for minutes at PSG last season, scoring twice in 10 League One appearances, and so a loan to Juve followed. He flourished in Serie A, scoring 8 times in 16 games and registering 1 assist. His form was so impressive that Juventus are in for him again, but face stiff competition from Spurs. No offers have been lodged yet, but both teams are looking to get a deal over the line. If Spurs are the team to finally bring him to the Premier League, the Frenchman will have big shoes to fill in. Replacing Son, the iconic South Korean was signed from German side Bayer Leverkusen in 2015 and has gone on to score 173 goals in over 450 appearances for Spurs, eventually helping them win the Europa League last season. Speaking of his decision, Son said, "Before we start, I just want to share the information that I have decided to leave this club this summer." Son said, "Respectfully, this club is helping me to make my decision. I just want to share this before we start. It was the most difficult decision I have made in my career. I have spent 10 years at Tottenham. The main reason is I have achieved everything I can at Tottenham. I need a new environment for a fresh challenge. I'm grateful the club have respected my decision and wish Spurs well for the next season." Son refused to comment on his next destination. MLS side LAFC appear to be leading the race for his signature, while there is also interest in the player from Saudi Arabia.